Challenges facing our country today. India, being a large and developing nation, faces multiple challenges. The situation was described by one writer as the challenge of simultaneous change. Indian leaders after independence pursued the goal of rapid economic development within the framework of parliamentary government based on universal suffrage. We have made a long journey from the time of independence. More than 5 decades have passed. We must evaluate our performance in the light of the set goals. We must also identify the problems, the reasons for the failure to tackle with them satisfactorily, and what can be done to overcome them. Some of the important challenges facing our country today are discussed in the following pages. Illiteracy. Literacy and education plays an important role in the development of the individual and society. Education has become a basic human need today. Knowledge liberates us from ignorance. We have a saying in Telugu that a person without education is a strange animal. We are living in a democratic age. Education enables people to think critically, rationally, and scientifically. It makes them realize the merits of democracy and the disadvantages of dictatorship. We have universal adult franchise. Problems due to illiteracy. Illiteracy is the source of individuals' helplessness in several contexts. Selfish and clever people take advantage of others' illiteracy. Illiterates become easy prey for money lenders and to the mechanizations of officers and employees in the villages and urban areas. Universal primary education. Universal primary education is essential for the progress of our country. In Andhra Pradesh, only 90% of children in the relevant age group, 6 to 14 years, are enrolled in schools. Thousands of villages still do not have schools. The problem is all the more acute in the Girijan and hilly areas. High incidence of poverty and backwardness disable the parents to send their children to school. Social and religious factors also pose problems in the universalization of primary education. Steps needed to eradicate illiteracy. Governments have launched several programs to eradicate illiteracy. National Literacy Mission was set up in 1988 to impart functional literacy to adult illiterates. Some voluntary organizations are doing excellent work in mobilizing local voluntary participation and action to remove illiteracy. Still, a great deal has to be done to make India completely literate. Teaching and learning environment have to be made lively and meaningful to children. Effective campaigns are necessary to increase awareness among the parents, especially among the backward classes and poor families, about the need to send their children to schools. Communalism. It is hard to believe today that free India was born in the fires of communal holocaust. India was partitioned into 2 separate states in 1947 on the basis of religion. When the British ruled in India, we had an excuse in that the British policy of divide and rule was responsible for the communal riots. But even after several decades of independence, communalism had not been weeded out in India. Communalism is a narrow, divisive and aggressive attitude on the part of a group to the detriment of other groups. Religious orthodoxy and fanatism provide the ground on which the tendency of communalism stands and finds its sustenance. Communalism is primarily fostered by few, often with a view to gain political power or economic gain for themselves. How to curb communalism? Communalism finds its breeding ground in the gullibility of the common people. Vested interests seek to whip up emotions among the ordinary people by sending false alarms at their religion fell in danger. It is the poor and backward sections of the people who suffer in many ways during the communal riots. We must strive to curb communal feelings and animosities. Primarily, we are all human beings with similar needs and desires. We shall cultivate fraternal feelings towards others, irrespective of religion. Religious faith and practice shall be confined to private life. The press and media can also play a positive role in exposing the evil designs of the communalists and also informing and educating the people. The composition of the armed constabulary should be such that it is not weighed in favor of any community. Those who are responsible for a problem must severely punished. Long-term measures are also necessary to prevent the recurrence of such incidents. Factors for the growth of regionalism. Of late, regional political parties have emerged stronger in several states. They have also captured power by defeating the national parties. In Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Maharashtra, Punjab, Bengal, Jammu and Kashmir, and in the northeastern states, we have strong regional political parties. Often regional feelings and hesitations are caused by a set of factors. Again, there are several types of regionalism depending upon the combination of factors that lead to regionalism in a particular region. Sometimes it may be mainly due to linguistic factor or socio-economic disparities or cultural communal divide. Changes in the political map of India. The diverse elements of Indian culture are chiefly represented by the languages of India. The leaders of the nationalist movement accepted the principle of territorial reorganization of the country on a linguistic basis. The Telugu-speaking people living in then Madras state launched an agitation for a separate state. Andhra state was created on October 1, 1953. Later, Andhra Pradesh was formed on November 1, 1956, with the merger of Telangana region of the erstwhile Nizam state and the state of Andhra. Language problem. The fear that Hindi is being imposed as the sole official and link language on another linguistic groups caused a sense of resentment. Language problem in India becomes a complex one because we have in this country several well-developed languages. Casteism. Casteism is another major problem India faces today. Caste is an endogamous group known as jati, linked by marriage and lineage. It provides to the individual an identity in the locality. The Hindu society has been traditionally divided into 4 varnas. Casteism may be defined as the discrimination of persons on the basis of caste, especially the upper caste person treating themselves as superior and others as low and inferior. The castes which are placed at a higher level in the traditional Hindu hierarchy look down those below them in the past. Untouchability. A larger number of people in traditional India were kept outside the Chaturvanya system. In the olden days, untouchability was practiced against them. During the British rule, they were called the depressed castes. They are now called scheduled castes. The term scheduled caste was first used in the Government of India Act 1935. They are also described as Dalits. Measures for improving the condition of SCs and STs. If the living conditions of the SC and ST people have to improve, urgent measures are necessary. Some of them are 1. Meaningful land reform and tenancy laws should be enacted and implemented effectively. State must ensure that the tribal's land is not alienated and their rights. The future scenario. Today, women are asking not merely for protection but liberation, not merely for welfare but empowerment. This is not impossible. Patriarchy is of the recent origin. Man's superiority and dominance are neither natural nor God-given. Children and their rights. State and society have a responsibility to protect and promote the well-being of children. Their essential needs should be given highest priority in the allocation of resources. Policy towards the child. The Census of India treats persons below the age of 14 as children. They represent a little over 1/3 of Indian population. The Indian Constitution provides the right against exploitation as a fundamental right. Article 24 prohibits the employment of children in hazardous work as in some factories and mines. The directive principle prescribes that the tender age of children shall not be abused. Children are not forced by economic necessity to enter avocations unsuited to their age and strength. Children are given opportunities and facilities to develop in a healthy manner and in conditions of freedom and dignity. Childhood is protected against exploitation and against moral and material abandonment. The National Policy for Children 1974 declared that it shall be the policy of the state to provide adequate services to children, both before and after birth and through the period of growth to ensure their full physical, mental and social development. Rights of a child. India is a signatory to the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Thus, India is obliged to protect the rights of children. Some of them are the right to survival, which includes the right to life, health, nutrition and adequate standard of living. The right to protection, which includes freedom from all forms of exploitation, abuse, inhuman or degrading treatment and neglect. The right to development, which includes the right to education, support for early childhood development and care, social security, and the right to leisure, recreation and cultural activities. The right to participation, which includes the respect for the views of child, freedom of expression, access to appropriate information, and freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. The Indian state has made some significant laws for children, such as the Children aims at eradicating the evil of pledging the labor of young children by their parents to employers in lieu of loans and advances. The Employment of Children Act 1938 lays down the children cannot be employed in hazardous work. The Factories Act 1948 provides that children shall not be required or allowed to work in any factory. Law, society, and the individual. Several significant laws have been enacted in India in the last several decades to bring changes in the society. They are either made to remove some old customs and practices, or to restructure the socio-economic relations, or to redefine the status of the individuals and citizens. Antisocial practices. Contrary to this, we often find persons or groups of persons who indulge in activities with a view to profit themselves at the cost of society or to dominate others by force or deceit. Those activities which are harmful to the public interest are called antisocial practices. Smuggling, drug trafficking, black marketing, profiteering, hoarding, and enjoyment of ill-gotten wealth, corruption, criminality, etc. are some of the antisocial practices. Smuggling and profiteering. Smuggling imports and export goods secretly contrary to the law. They do not pay duties imposed by the law. Drug trafficking and addiction. Traffic in drugs or narcotics has become a worldwide problem. Morphine, heroin, hashish, charas, and guns are some of the names of various drugs and narcotics. As these dangerous drugs are prohibited, they are used and supplied illegally. The drug traffic is from illicit sources. Corruption. Corruption has become a serious problem in India. These days, we often hear of scams. Scam means a scandal involving making of money through wrong schemes or illegal means, or cheating others, or swindling public funds. Criminality in society and politics. Those who commit crime and increasingly becoming influential in society and public life, criminals and criminal gangs have not confined themselves to amassing wealth through extortions, smuggling, drug trafficking, black marketing, etc. In big cities, the mafia gangs have their sway.